Hey, greetings, everybody. I'm Larry Williams, the Director of CARMA, the Consortium for the Advancement of Research Methods and Analysis, now in the Rawls College of Business at Texas Tech University. And it's my pleasure on this April 17th to welcome you to another CARMA Quick Chat. You may know that our Quick Chats are recordings that we make where I take the opportunity to connect with people who are going to be contributing to Karma. And today it's my pleasure to be chatting with Tim Hannigan from the University of Ottawa. And Tim is going to be giving a webcast lecture 8 days from now on April the 25th. On topic modeling. And you may know that our webcast lectures are offered as part of a program that's available to our institutional members as well as Academy of Management members. The lectures are delivered live using Zoom, but then the recordings are put in our video library, and they're there for our institutional and AOM members and others to enjoy. Let me invite you to visit our website at karmattu.com, where you can learn more about Karma and our webcast lectures, and also our live online short courses that we have coming up June 2nd. So Tim, it's been a pleasure, the few chats that we've had so far, and I appreciate you taking the time from your schedule today to help us out on this. So what is it that led you to get a PhD? That's all the way I like to usually start with folks, and it's always interesting, the various ways that people end up where we're at. So how did it happen with you?
Well, thanks, Larry. I have to say that for me, it was a journey. I did my undergraduate degree in computer science and economics here in Canada at Queen's University. And when I was working as a marketing manager after my degree, I was tasked with having to deal with innovation, bringing new technologies into the organization, which is not typically what you do as a marketing manager. But when I started working in that role, I started to notice that a number of the concepts and ideas that had really animated my interest as an undergraduate just didn't really hold up in practice, particularly this sense of um, how new technologies get adopted in an organizational way. Um, it's often a case, I think the phenomenon is people don't know what they want until they see what's possible. And so there's this iteration, and that was actually in contrast to what I'd been taught, especially in my software design classes, which suggested that you just have to follow a very standard procedure of asking users what they wanted and then building what they want according to that specification. So I started to notice the phenomenon, and I wanted to know more. And that curiosity, I think, led me to want to explore this as an interdisciplinary topic. And so I actually did my MSc at the London School of Economics in the Information Systems group. And that was just a fantastic experience that both helped me to understand that there were these broader approaches to understanding this phenomenon, but also led me to understand a little bit more about what theory was all about and what a PhD could be all about. And so had the most wonderful experience in my master's, and then that led to doing a PhD at the Saïd Business School at Oxford, which was kind of an extension of that. So to sum up, I think my sense of curiosity about organizational phenomenon, how that connected with theory as a way of shaping that curiosity into something, and the PhD became the vehicle for doing that.
Yeah. Well, you've done it well, and you've been very successful. And so doctoral programs and the training that people get are very different in different programs. There's a lot of variety. And so, where you're at now, the success that you have, if you look back to your doctoral training, can you identify specific things that kind of happened or that you learned that you think have contributed to the success that you've had?
Yeah, I think I can. You know, I was really fortunate being at the Saudi Business School. You know, that was a place that really encouraged interdisciplinary training.
Mhm.
Um, and you know, when I think about the work that I've done, particularly around topic modeling, you know, it stems directly from an interdisciplinary approach. And you know, I can remember, you know, I was situated informally within the complex systems group. Dr. Felix Reed Sokas, who's a network scholar, brought me under his wing and encouraged me to think about different approaches to text analysis that were emerging at the time. And one of my co-supervisors, Mark Ventresca, um, picked up on this, and he actually helped arrange a 6 month visit for me at Northwestern uh, University. And there I was embedded in both the sociology department, the microsociology seminar with Gary Allen Fine, but also the communications school with Nashira Contractor as a social network analysis scholar. And, you know, having these two approaches that leans into both meaning analysis, but also some form of computational structural analysis, and then finding interfaces between them. You know, it was encouraged by uh, my committee and my supervisors at Oxford. Victor Seidel was my other supervisor, very encouraging of this. But also, you know, to be able to go out into this other institution to build on these techniques and bring them back. You know, the space at Oxford allowed me to do that, and then ultimately I anchored my thinking more closely on what was going on in cultural sociology. There's a scholar named John Moore who was starting to develop ideas around meaning structures. And he was building interfaces with institutional theory. He was working with Mark Ventresca, also some others that I later met at Alberta. But you know, this laid the foundation for me to then explore this technique of topic modeling that was initially developed in computer science and to help import it into management. And
Mhm.
one of the really intriguing things about this method is that it's sufficiently flexible, right? So you know, the first application of this was actually Kayvon Vakili and Sarah Kaplan, or it was Kaplan and Vakili. They had an SMJ piece where they applied it in a more traditional regression analysis type of research design. Um, but topic modeling is sufficiently flexible, and you know, I've seen it and used it in ways that are more resonant with grounded theory in a qualitative way. And
Mhm.
so to be able to work on importing a method from computer science that is flexible, um, you know, I see it as a general purpose technology for the field. It's malleable. But in order to be able to do that and help contribute to building up the capabilities of using this technique in management theory, where you know we are uh, subject to different approaches and different standards than say computer science as a field, um, I had to have that interdisciplinary ethos.
Mhm.
And you know, I think that my experience at Oxford with the supervisors that I had, the people who were encouraging of me doing this, really set the foundation for this. Um, but yeah, when I think about doctoral training, it set the foundation. It provided the seed. But you know, I'm a big fan of lifelong learning, and so I think what Karma is doing is fantastic. in terms of offering courses that indeed can allow people to retrain over the course of their careers, particularly, as new methods come down the pipe.
Uh-huh.
Then, it's really important to think about training as an ongoing activity. And in that sense, I think the doctoral training, personally for me, set the foundation, but I didn't stop there. I had to do a lot more work to train and build up capacities along the way.
Yeah. Well, that's just really intriguing how that all came together and has worked so well for you. And so you get that training when you get your degree and you go start your job as an assistant prof. And I remember in my own narrow way, I thought, oh, being a faculty member is not going to be that much different than being a student. I'm not going to have to be taking classes, but I'll be teaching and doing research and then I got into it and I found that as well prepared as I was from a realistic job preview point of view, there were still things that that were surprising for me that I did not anticipate. So kind of what was that transition like for you in going from being a doctoral student to an assistant professor?
Well, for me, I did a postdoctoral fellowship, so there was an in between, and I had a bit of time to work intensively on research projects and publishing, and I was very fortunate to have as mentors of my postdoc, Joe Porak and Jim Wade. I was working closely with them on this approach to meaning structures and looking at concept networks and scandal, and just fascinating. And of course, I didn't have any teaching as a postdoctoral
Mhm.
fellow, so it was just research. So that was neat. But when I started as an assistant professor, um, I was surprised by a number of things.
Mhm.
The first being like the cognitive load of teaching. Um, it's a lot.
Mhm.
Having to answer emails from students, having to just attend to their expectations and their needs. It interrupts the research time in such a way that I've had to learn how to compartmentalize my time better, and turn off notifications on my phone and
Mhm.
computer, to protect that research time, but also appreciate that teaching matters and is really important. Um, but I think one of the biggest things I was surprised about, I started my career at the University of Alberta, and what a fantastic department that was to start a career. That's a place that really cared about research, really cared about scholarship, and not in a superficial way. The degree of mentorship from senior colleagues was really impressive. Senior colleagues were not there to form this hierarchy with junior professors who um, were desperately trying to find tenure. There was a gulf between them. Senior faculty in that department really wanted to help um, junior faculty, and in such a way like they wanted to co-author, they wanted to develop ideas together, they wanted to help expand the social capital that they had built in their academic leadership. And I was amazed by that. This idea that there was this commitment to the profession, this commitment to building community, um, and the reciprocal ways that was encouraged. This it's not like um, uh, the senior faculty helped junior scholars and then that was it. Like there was also this expectation that junior scholars would help one
Mhm.
another, contribute to building community and social capital in the field, doing a lot with AOM, organizing conferences. There's really this broader expectation that being an assistant professor is being a member of a community, both locally as well as globally. And
Mhm.
yeah, just the the expectation, but also the enactment of that value in practice, it really surprised me. And that was the kind of place that it wasn't just a job. It
Mhm.
was the sense of this broader calling, but also the practices that you have to enact to be part of this community of scholars.
Mhm.
It was another way of learning about what the career was all about by being there.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we talked about earlier was the conference that you're going to be hosting. And if you could just give it's a two-part question. One, give a quick preview of the conference, like 2 minute summary of it. But then I'm interested in what led you to come to be organizing it and to take on this responsibility.
Sure, thanks for the question. Yeah, so I've continued to be involved with a group that we call the Interpretive Data Science Group, the Ideas Group. And this was an effort that started when I was at Alberta by myself and my former colleagues, Dev Jennings, Vern Glazer, Chris Steele, um, Mark David Seidel at UBC was also an early member of this group. And we were trying initially with the Ideas Group to build space to both examine the um, impact of analytics on social science and management, which is to say, to reflexively consider how computational tools were starting to transform our methodologies and how could we be involved with that. But we were also interested in looking at the impact of analytics on society and organizations.
Mhm.
And so within that perspective, there was a there was an eclecticism, of considering how different methods can be applied and combined in interesting ways. We had a number of ethnographers who were a part of this group, people who were interested in studying meaning. They zoomed in, but also finding ways of combining that with forms of zooming out. And that's one of the connections to topic modeling was, as a way to look at the mapping meanings in a collective way in a terrain. And so, yeah, this openness to a big tent methodologically was a core part of this group, and we've organized I think 5 workshops now where we tried to provide some degree of training for methods such as topic modeling. But also, this year we're leaning into um, combinations of methods like QCA plus topic modeling, or configurational analysis on a bigger scale. And so with that eclectic ethos, trying to open space for scholars who, might have a qualitative orientation, wanting to do things like map out an organizational field and do, types of network analysis that are not typically done. And so building space to provide the support to be able to do that has been a central goal of the Ideas Group. And so we continue with that. But there's also, to answer your second part of your question, there's a lot of interest these days in AI in organizations. And so we're also trying to build space for this year's workshop later in the month here at the University of Ottawa. Um, we're trying to build space for an interdisciplinary conversation between management scholars and, or I should say, within management or within AOM. We're trying to build space for organizational scholars and information system scholars to come together and discuss ideas around like AI plus people assemblages and organizations and uh, ecosystems and fields, and how these new ways of mediated organizing we're trying to ask questions around legitimacy or epistemology with these tools, which up until this point have not really been examined that much. And so, looking at that particular angle, bringing these scholars together, but also providing some methodological training or even building space for this eclectic methodological approach where people can do topic modeling, QCA, field mapping, basically using computational tools in interesting ways. That's kind of what the workshop is all about. And it's been a small group, but I think it's been growing. And I'm certainly interested in finding ways that we can maybe partner with Karma to expand some of this training that we've done. But yeah.
Well, that sounds like a fascinating conference and a really important space to be working in, and having further discussions about how we can work together would be great. To close, as I mentioned at the beginning, we've had this wonderful chat because next week we're going to be giving a webcast lecture offered as part of our webcast program, and we can find more information about his lecture and other lectures on our website. But can you kind of give us a quick preview of what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so next week the focus will be on topic modeling. So I'll talk a little bit about what the technique is all about, but also what the affordances of it are as a method and a methodology, which is to say, how can it best be used in practice for management research? At this point, we do have some more established best practices, at least in publishing using topic modeling. But topic modeling is a family of techniques in a sense, and so I'll be helping to show two of them. We'll be looking at LDA as well as STM, structural topic modeling. They're two popular algorithms. And their associated affordances and best practices with each one. And so I'll do a bit of a compare and contrast between them, but I'll present this within the broader framework of rendering management theory using topic modeling, which I helped to develop in the 2019 Academy of Management Annals paper with colleagues from the IDEOS group. And so I'll be using the rendering framework to talk about topic modeling in terms of what it is, how you use it, and how you can use it to build theory of management research.
Well, that's great. That'll be on April 25th, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Tim, we're really glad that you could fit this conversation in with me today, and even more excited about your upcoming webcast. So thank you much, and we'll look forward to your talk next week.
Thanks, Larry. Same here.